What's going on, guys? Landon here with Late Model Restoration. Today I'm going to be diving into Ford Performance's short throw shifter fitting any MT82 equipped 2015 or 2016 Mustang. Ford Performance Racing Parts is dedicated to manufacturing the highest quality products offered in the Mustang market. Several of Ford Performance parts have made their way onto a ton of project cars here at Late Model Restoration, all of which have maintained an OEM fit and finish. This short throw shifter from Ford Performance will reduce shifter throw and allow for quicker, more precise gear changes under spirited driving. The shifter throw will be reduced by 19%, feature high quality components, and surprisingly, an easy installation. So follow along, guys, as I walk you through the simple steps on installing Ford Performance's short throw shifter into this magnetic 2015 Mustang GT. To begin installation, start by removing the factory shift knob. Rotate the shift knob counterclockwise. Use a plastic trim removal tool to separate the shifter bezel from the center console. Pull up slightly on the shifter boot and release the 3 small tabs on the reverse lockout sleeve. Remove the upper boot from the car. Remove the anti-rattle clip if equipped and the lower boot from the car. Now, place the car on a lift or jack stands as high as you can get it. Loosen the 2 exhaust sleeves with a 15mm socket. Remove the 4 bolts securing the 2 rear exhaust hangers closest to the mufflers with a 10mm socket. Remove the 2 bolts securing the 2 exhaust hangers on the IRS subframe. With the help from a friend, remove the exhaust system from the car. Mark the rear of the drive shaft and the pinion flange for reference. Mark the front of the drive shaft and the flex coupling for reference as well. Support the transmission with the pole jack or floor jack. Remove the 4 transmission crossmember to floor pan bolts with a 19mm socket. Remove the 3 crossmember to transmission bolts with a 15mm socket. Set the crossmember aside. With a 15mm socket on the bolt and an 18mm wrench on the nut, remove the drive shaft to flex joint hardware. Loosen and remove the drive shaft center bearing bolts. I would strongly recommend the help from a friend to help hold the drive shaft in place. Remove the 6 10mm bolts from the rear of the drive shaft. A breaker bar with another 10mm socket will help hold the drive shaft in place. Remove the drive shaft from the car. Remove the 2 10mm nuts holding the shifter housing to the transmission tunnel. Now remove the gear shift lever to transmission bolt with a 10mm open-end wrench. It will help tremendously if you lower the transmission roughly 4 inches. Remove the gear shift lever bolt with a 13mm stubby open-end wrench. Now you can remove the shifter assembly from the car. Place the shifter on a 2x4 and use a punch to hammer out the roll pin from the shifter lever. Remove the spring from the lever. Remove the shoulder bolt for the reverse lockout sleeve, then remove the sleeve from the shifter lever. Now you can remove the rubber isolator from the shifter. Loosen and remove the 4 lower housing cover bolts. Roll back the rubber boot and separate the actuator from the shifter lever pivot. Remove the 2 shift lever retaining plate bolts and remove the plate. Slide the shift lever through the shifter housing. Remove both pivot isolators from the shift lever. It is a good idea to mark the orientation of the shifter assembly. Apply a liberal amount of the supplied PTFE grease to the shifter lever pivot and the linkage. Reinstall the pivot onto the linkage. Apply a liberal amount of the supplied PTF grease to the pivot isolator bushing and the linkage. Reinstall the isolator onto the linkage. Slide the lever through the housing and verify the hole for the reverse lockout shoulder bolt is oriented towards the driver's side of the shifter housing. Reinstall the shift lever retaining plate over the shifter. Apply blue thread locker to the bolt and torque to 75 pound-inches. Apply a liberal amount of supplied grease to the lower actuator arm and bushing. Align the actuator arm bushings into the shifter housing and lower shifter pivot. Install the included housing gasket onto the assembly. Position the housing cover onto the assembly. Reposition the dust boot over the housing. Apply blue thread locker to the 4 bolts and torque to 75 pound-inches. Apply some PTFE grease to the shift lever and install the provided reverse lockout sleeve over the shift handle assembly. Install the shoulder bolt with red thread locker and torque to 16 pound-inches. Install the spring over the shifter lever. Use the same method when reinstalling the roll pin as you did when you removed it. Knock out the factory front bushing and remove both halves. Install the included front isolator bushings. It would be in your best interest to upgrade the rear shifter assembly isolator. We chose to install one from Steeda. Slide the isolator over the end of the assembly. It would be in your best interest to add a urethane transmission crossmember insert as well. We chose to install the Steeda one as well. Remove the two 15mm nuts securing the factory rubber mount to the crossmember. Apply the included grease to the bushing. It is important to use the grease and this grease only. Cover any area that will make contact with the factory rubber mount. This bushing can go either way. Start by pressing it in by hand. Then grab you a 2x4 and a dead blow to knock it the rest of the way. Reinstall the mount onto the crossmember. Now, position the sifter assembly back into the car and retighten the previously removed hardware. Have a friend help with reinstallation of the drive shaft. Ensure that you align the drive shaft with the marks you previously made. Jack up the transmission and reinstall the crossmember. Have a friend help with reinstalling the exhaust as well. Lower the car back onto the ground. Install the lower boot over the shifter. Slide the anti-rattle clip over the shifter as well. Reinstall the upper boot and tighten the set screws on the reverse lockout sleeve. Be sure not to over-tighten. Before applying blue thread locker to the jam nut, thread it down and then thread the included shift knob. You may have to do this a couple of times until the knob orientation is up and down. Remove the knob and mark the jam nut and thread with a marker. Remove the jam nut and then apply blue thread locker. Thread it back down to the mark and then tighten the Ford Racing knob to the jam nut. Since the thread specs are the same for this shifter, you can reuse your factory shift knob if you'd like. Start the car and test for operation. If everything checks out okay, you're all done. If you guys want to continue watching the best install videos on YouTube, then you have to subscribe to our channel. And of course, you can pick up a Ford Performance short throw shifter for your 2015 Mustang at latemodelrestoration.com.